All right, we're going to take a look at two topics today as we round out our intro to economics part of this. And the first is going to be something called opportunity cost. The second part is we're going to talk about the basic economic questions. Okay, so opportunity cost, it basically is what are you giving up to either purchase or carry out or do something in general. If you go and you buy something, you buy a new shirt or you buy new shoes. Okay, now did you take that money and you bought new shoes? Now you do not have money to go to the movies or to go hang out with your friends or to go on a vacation or whatever the case may be. So the opportunity cost was you used that money and you went and and you use your resources to get something different. It also has to do with how you use your time. Did you take a nap or do your homework? Okay, the opportunity cost of taking that nap is that you did not get your homework done. You never truly know what you're going to get out of something, but you know what you can expect out of it. That's like you don't know the exact value, you know the expected value. So when we look at this, you're supposed to use opportunity costs when you are making choices, economic choices. Economists believe that everyone uses their own best rational self-interest. We know that time is limited. You can't buy more time. You have a finite amount of time on Earth. When you're looking at this, economists suggest that you do not take into account what's referred to as sunken cost. Imagine you have a car. Okay, so you have a car. It's a little bit of a junker, and you put a new starter on it, and you put a new battery in it, and you put a new exhaust on it, and so it had all these problems, and you kept putting money on it and into it, and then the car breaks down again. Okay, economists say do not take into account. Hey, I just spent $1,200 on fixing this car. Now I got to spend another. I should really spend another $1,000. They say that you take that last decision, and that is what you base your decision on. Okay, that $1,200 is already gone. The question is, do you want to spend another $1,000 to get that car back on the road? Okay, so that's an example of sunken cost. Economists suggest that you do not take into consideration sunken cost. The book uses college very often, but when you're looking at, so what's the opportunity cost of going to college? Well, first, there's the cost of paying tuition. That's 4 years. You're, in essence, not heading down a career path, or maybe college is part of your career path. There's the direct cost of college, the direct time investment of college, but when you look at this, and this is an investment in the future. Okay, if what you ultimately want to do requires a college education, you are taking that time to get to where you ultimately want to do, to the job you ultimately want to do. Also, it's important to take into consideration if you're looking at two career paths, one might be a 2-year option, one might be a 4-year option, whatever the case may be. During that time you're in school, you're not really earning, and you might have a side job, but you're not really earning your revenue. Okay, so you have to take into consideration there's the opportunity cost of college includes your foregone earnings, money you did not make while you're in college, the direct cost of college, but then you take into consideration what is the end result down the road. So the second part of this that we're looking at is actually Chapter 2, Economic Tools and Systems. When we're looking at economic systems, every economic system answers these 3 questions. What goods and services will be produced? How will they be produced? And for whom will they be produced? Every system answers these differently. If we're in a socialist system, if we're in a traditional barter economy, if we're in a free market system, they all answer these questions differently. In a later lesson, we will look at how each system answers these questions. But at first, we're going to look at here, we're going to look at what's referred to as the invisible hand of the market. And we're talking about free market economics here. Okay, Adam Smith is the philosopher, the economic philosopher that came up with this invisible hand. And basically what he believes is that in a free market economy, resources end up in the hands of people who value them the most. Okay, so a producer, they can make and sell whatever they want. Okay, and we're taking any laws and restrictions out of the way here. So we're pure free market. There is absolutely no laws, restrictions at all. So producers can make and sell whatever they want. Consumers can buy whatever they want. So in a pure free market, if you're a producer, you are going to produce your goods and sell them to the person who's going to give you the most in return. Okay, we use money to do exchanges, but you're going to sell your items for the highest price you can. Okay, and then at the end of the day, if you're making money, if you're making a profit, and you are getting the resources, you're acquiring raw materials to make your product and push it out. If you're making enough profit, you'd be able to pay more for your resources. And that's really what it looks like. So the invisible hand drives where resources end up and where prices end up. Now, so let's take this into consideration in today's climate. There's shortages of appropriate masks and hospital beds and ventilators and so forth. Adam Smith, if he was alive today, he would say, hey, you know what? Let's, if you're allowed to hoard your toilet paper and masks and whatever, and stores should be able to gouge their prices and jack them up, because he believes once the profits of those items, once the profit of the masks and toilet paper and so forth, once that goes up, then other producers will step in and try to get in on that high profit market. And then in theory, that's driving more people and more producers to that product being produced. Okay, so if we're taking these masks, for example, okay, there's huge markups, huge profits with these. Well, then anyone who has the ability to begin to make these and the resources to make these is going to begin to make them. And then ultimately, as there's more of them on the market, what happens to price? The price would go down. So he would show that the invisible hand, instead of regulating the prices or preventing price gouging and so forth, as many of us agree and are accustomed to, a pure free market economist would say, no, let them gouge the prices, because that's going to bring more producers to that market and more producers producing those goods, which then ultimately solves the problem of there being a shortage. Okay, that's just one example of how the free market can work. We're going to look at other market systems and so forth in coming lessons.